Good evening in Portugal, 6:15, which means it's time for Get Out and Grow with the happy homesteaders, head gardener McGrady, giving us a papal blessing on your gardens there. Thank you, Lee. And Anna, DJ Antics in Devon. How are you, Anna?
Doing good, thank you. Yeah, the weather's looking pretty good, and garden's growing really well. And it's I think autumn's just starting to appear here now. I think the leaves are just starting to change colour slightly.
Who's that who's got the show in the background? I think that's Mr. Agate is watching the show as well as taking part. Mr. Agate, I think. We'll ask him how he is in a minute once he's shut the browser that's playing the show, and we can have a chat with him because he's forgotten how this works. He's had a week's holiday. It's all gone to custard in Devon, in his part of Devon. And we need to talk to him about alpacas because he has been walking alpacas. He's all right now. Hands up, and all is well. Hey, John, you can unmute yourself now, mate. I think safe. Oh, well, shall I do it with this end? Go on, unmute yourself, buddy. Let us know how your holiday's gone.
Yeah, nice, thanks. Had some nice walks, including on the Tuesday. A walk with alpacas in near the Semawater sort of lake reservoir thing in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire
farmers. Oh yeah, it's your rival county, isn't it, Lee? Because you're Lancashire, so it's the wrong side of the Pennines, as they say, for you, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So would you say, in your view, the Wars of the Roses is still going then?
No, I do like Yorkshire. Love the Not York Wars. So,
it is, isn't it? Yeah. It's a bit like Devon and Cornwall, our sort of banter that we have, I suppose.
Yeah, but you all love each
other.
Like
the cream tea thing definitely is a good example. Anyway, I'm getting off the point. Yes. So not holiday. Like one of the things I did was an alpaca walk. And this was really nice. I found out quite a lot about alpacas actually, and sort of how they are and stuff. And it was quite interesting. But it was good to have a good walk with the farmer who met us, and we went out for it must be maybe a couple of miles that we did, because it was a sort of circular type of walk. So that was good actually. And the alpaca I was with was called Mr. Darcy.
Of course he was.
Yes.
It's a good name.
Did he sweep you up the feet?
And he was eating quite a lot on his walk. There was eating a lot of grass and bits of tree. Leaves. He was stopping a lot to eat.
And is that what they do?
Yeah, well, this one did. The two younger ones that my mum and my sister had a little bit less. But yeah, he seemed to be quite hungry on the particular day that I had him.
Okay, Mr. Darcy was grassy. And you're more of an alpaca tracker than a llama farmer, by the sound of it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe. You were a poet and you didn't know it, Carl, or you do now know it.
I do.
I had a black Labrador called Darcy.
Did you?
Oh, right.
He was a good dog. Yeah, nice dog. I liked him. Yeah.
I'm just plugging my power supply. Always a bit of a moment when your laptop tells you it's running out of power. And that ought to do it. Well, thank you, everybody, for checking in like that. Head gardener McGrady, what sort of week have you had? You managed to escape the worst of the storm by the sound of it last week.
I got lucky with the weather last week, yeah. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. And the couple of downpours I got caught in were nice and refreshing.
Oh, very good.
Tuesday morning was a bit of a challenge. We had a couple of heavy downpours. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday. Nah, neither neither. But yeah, I got by. I survived it.
Yeah.
Had a cracking weekend. No work, so we had a bit of dinner out on Saturday. Then Sunday was the 7 Hills of Lisbon on a push bike.
Yes.
Not recommended.
No, that
Not
sounds
recommended.
grueling. Why would you do that?
Because it sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
I've also just signed up for the half marathon in Lisbon as well, November the 26th. Again, I've not ran for 20 years, so God knows how I'm going to end up doing it. But
do you get to run across the bridge? Do you run across the bridge for that?
It's the only reason I'm doing it. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. That the bit of the April 25th. What is that? The finishing line, or is that halfway through?
No, I think it's the start point this year. They've had a bit of a change around.
Yeah.
We should have done it last year, but they cancelled it with the COVID.
Okay.
So I believe we start near Almada Forum and then cross the bridge as like a start point.
Very good. So, now talking of COVID, Jason's here. How are you, Jason? We are inquiring after your well-being. Hope you're okay. Do let us know how you are doing, Jason. Legend of this show. Louise is here as well on the YouTube channel, rather than her usual sign-in. Botara todos, Louise here with my father Morris. So good evening to you, Morris. Great to have your company. Do you have a gardening question for us? Because that's what it's all about here, the gardening Q&A with the Get Out and Grow team, the Happy Homesteaders, every Monday evening at 6:15 Portugal time. Somebody who might want to do the half marathon with you. He didn't eat all the pies, but it sounds like he ate all the pastel de natas while he was here. This man put on, I think he said, is it 14 or 7 kilos? He put on a lot of kilos in his 14-day trip here. I think maybe 7 kilos in 14 days, which might be a record. Even, I mean, there's a lot of tourists who come and do that, but that's extraordinary, Matty. So maybe you want to do the run with Lee. The question coming in from Matty is about fruit and olive trees. At what age should one buy them, and how long to harvest after planting? Thanks for the first question of the evening, Matty.
It's a great question. It's one that comes across quite a lot, and it's all about affordability.
Right.
You can buy mature olive trees, and when I say mature, I mean big trees. But you can pay anything from 250 to 700-800 euros a piece.
Blimey.
Well, and I've done jobs where we've had to forklift them into gardens. They're massive. I mean, so it depends on how much you want to outlay to start with. But there are some already fruiting olive trees which are available for around the 15 to 20 euro mark, and I imagine they're around the 10-year-old whip stage, and they're already starting to fruit, but you won't get a lot of fruit off them.
Yeah.
So it's all about how much you're prepared to wait and how many you want to buy as an outlay to start with.
Yeah.
I'm always in favour of buying many, buying them small, and giving them time to develop.
Yes.
That's always been my personal way to do it, because I like to see things grow. But if you've got the money, you can go out and invest in an olive tree that's ready to go. You know, that's a mature tree.
Yeah.
But I find they're more purchased by the ornamental gardener rather than the farming side of it.
Yeah, I've got you. They're trying to create a landscape in one go.
Yeah. So you go for the more mature tree, and that gives you that instant impact. Where if you're going to farm something, you can spend around 10 to 15 euros to get you a nice example of a great, strong, tall whip, which will already be producing, but will only producing several olives every year. And then every euro you spend gets you a few more olives on the tree.
Oh, I see.
So again, it's also buying local when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rather than rushing out and going to a supermarket, go and talk to the local fruit supplier, the local tree supplier, and they've always got a better idea, because the trees are harvested all the time and they're developed all the time. So they might do you a bulk deal as well. If you want to buy 5 or 6, they might knock a few quid off.
Great stuff. Yeah, well, that's Matty thinking about his homestead in the future in central Portugal. It sounds
Well,
like it's all together, that plan.
If he's looking for a homestead, he should be looking for somewhere with developed trees already on it.
Well, there you go. Yeah, good thought.
Because then he'll already be, they'll already be there. They'll be established, and his area will already have a cooperative of farmers where they all put the fruit together.
Yes.
And he'll already be earmarked if he's buying land. If he's going to buy land, start looking for something with olive trees on it.
And you might even buy your way into the cooperative because that would be a really good way of getting to know people and being part of the local scene as well, Matty.
I do know an area that's for sale up a bit further north, out of Portugal, and the land's been derelict for several years, but the cooperative still go and harvest the olives off the trees.
Yeah,
that nobody really cares for, and they're still caring for the olive trees as a cooperative.
Sounds great.
So you can like I say, you can buy into it. You can buy into the harvesting, and people give you advice and ideas and come and help you out as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So get yourself a ready-made community that way as well, Matty. There you go. First question of the evening. And it feels like we should say hello to everyone else who's here and then come back to Roger Barron, who has struggled, I think, sometimes to get his questions answered. It's a matter of timing. It's nothing personal, Roger. Hope you tuned in tonight, and we will answer your question about pollarding almonds. You do ask some unusual questions, I think. So Jason is here. Let us know how you're doing, mate. Stephen is also here. Good evening to you, and a bon dia from Mark as well, who I think is now back in UK after a little bit of a trip to Portugal. How did it go? And Matty, Carl, light a candle or something. You're just a black shadow. Well, you know it's me. It's not about me today. It's about the lovely backdrop behind me. And as some of you may know, if you were tuned in this morning, I'm at the Martignal Resort in Cascais, and I think it is far more photogenic what's behind me. And I want you to see the beauty of it. Just got out of the pool with the kids to come and do the show tonight. Thoroughly recommend the resort here. And I'm just trying to show it off. It's in all its beauty. I'm one floor up. And I'm like broadcasting from the trees, so I thought that'd be a nice touch, even if it does put me into a cameo style silhouette. But well spotted, Matty. Eric's here as well. Eric Huizer, good evening to you, or bon dia to you, Eric. Great to have your company, Lee. How are the legs after the 7 hills? Yeah, it was only yesterday you did it. So how are you feeling today as a result?
I was a bit sore this morning, and I imagine I'll be sore this evening because I've done a bit of work as well. But yeah. It was more the lungs than anything. It's not good being a smoker and doing stupid ideas like that. Yeah.
Did you have to get off a milk kit, or did you manage to do it all on the bike? No,
I didn't. I did it all on the bike.
Good man.
I pride myself on loving hills. I've always enjoyed climbing hills. Yeah. Being walking or on a push bike, so I never get off. I never stop. I just rip my teeth and shout stupid. No, I do. I have a mental. I have a little thing I do in my head where when I'm starting to struggle, I start to shout at myself. And in the middle of Lisbon, you look really stupid when you're screaming at yourself to get up an hill. Get up an hill, get up an hill. Yeah, it's good fun. And
the tourists keep seeing you like alternatively shouting at yourself, cycling up a hill, and then sat on a bench having a cigarette once you got to the top, thinking, that guy's weird. Use an electric push bike, says Matty, is a suggestion there. And I think John's has worked on a joke there while you were talking. Something has flashed across John's mind, as we can see occasionally while we're doing a show on a Monday. What's occurred to you, John?
Double clicked on the unmute and mute button. Then muted myself again. No, I just found that little bit of conversation amusing then, and probably laughed a bit too much, to be fair.
Yeah, because you're a fan of Faulty Towers, aren't you? And I guess like seeing Lee shouting at himself on a bike is a bit sort of Faulty-esque, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, actually, that's true.
Yeah. Anna, have we got a first? Well, you're the guardian of the questions, and you've done a lovely job on the Get Out and Grow group. In case you don't know, we do have a Facebook group called Get Out and Grow with the Happy Homesteaders, and you've done a really nice, tidy job of bringing all the questions together in there. And it really feels like we should ask Roger Barron's question, if you can lay your hands on that one, Anna.
Yeah, I've the only one I've got written down is the where to pollard a once pollarded almonds, and what's the right way to do this?
It is quite a good question, in the fact that it's just two different ways of doing it. If it's already been pre-pollarded, again, it depends where it is. If it's in a garden and it's for ornamental show, then you can always go before the pollard, go under the last cut and cut there. If it's in a hedgeway or on an agricultural area, then you take your bull hook, which is like a long sharp knife, and you can just hack away at it. You've got the main stem, then you've got the shoot offs from it. You want to create the shoot offs. You want to only cut the shoot offs, not the main stem. And when you're doing any sort of pollarding like that, always look for shape. That's my big advice. Is you want the fruit to be harvestable, but you want the tree to fit in with the environment you're in. So rather than have it as a bush where it makes things difficult to get into the middle of it, do it more like a fan. So when it does develop, it develops out into a fan shape. I really enjoy pollarding. It's one of my little passions that I like doing. So if it's ornamental, go below the cut. Or no, sorry, it's ornamental, go above the cut. If it's agricultural, go below the cut. Going below the cut will send out a few shoots which you can harvest easily. Ornamental, go above the previous cut, then you'll get much more growth on it, but not as easy to harvest. And as of time of year, I'm not quite sure where you are. But in England, when I've done it, I've always waited for the first frost to hit, and I do all my pollarding after the first frost. I'm not sure how it works in Portugal. I would imagine it would be January, February. But I should have somewhere local in your area and look out for all the people pollarding, and then do your own. Dead simple, but it should be good fun.
The idea behind it then is kind of multiple, isn't it? The benefits are many, because you're creating shape, aren't you, for one thing? But you're also, this is something you said previously, is that it makes sense to create access to the fruit, right? And is that another one of the benefits?
Well, yeah, pollarding needs to be done so you can access the fruit. Yeah. We used to pollard in England. A lot of the hedgeways where you've got hawthorn hedges, but then you've got like an apple tree that's inside it. They would cut around the apple tree and leave the tree to develop through the hedge. So that would need to be pollarded for shape, not so much accessibility. But then if you've got like a plum tree or, well, any sort of fruiting shrub that you want to maintain to a smaller size in a small garden, then you're looking at accessibility to get in for the fruit and to allow the wind to pass through, and just to make it look pretty as well. Because all those new shoots look much better. We've got a plum tree at the back of the garden here. I've got one that I never touch and one that I've started to pollard gently. And next year will be the big cut on it. I'll come right down to like the main shoots. But that loves it. It shoots out 6-7 foot in no time at all in the spring.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's part of the art, isn't it? Because a lot of people in the garden, especially blokes, for some reason, tend to be too severe, don't they? With like getting rid of, what is it? Jet washing, shredding, and pollarding. They go in too heavy and too obsessive, don't they? You've got to be a little bit careful, haven't you, when it comes to the pollarding? I
think with most fruit trees, you're okay. You can go crazy with them unless it's been grafted onto a rootstock. Right. But I see people doing it in roses a lot. They go crazy with the roses when they're pruning roses, and they cut below the rootstock of the rose, and then you never get the true variation of your rose again. You've cut away all that grafted material. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people do. There are certain plants like the dogwoods back in England. Yeah. Where you can just hack them to the ground and they'll just shoot back. It's Pyracanthus here in Portugal. You can just hack it right to the ground and it'll just shoot back up. Lovely. But there's some you have to be a bit more delicate with.
All right. So knock yourselves out, fellas, with that. John, something again I think occurred to you in that exchange, I think. Feel free to chip in, mate. Don't wait for my invitation.
I don't think so, no.
I was thinking maybe you were working on a Sue Pollard joke. But
no, to be honest.
All right, good. But We have a bit of community action coming in. Louise helped with their neighbours' grape harvest today. This very day, picked 400 kilos in 2 hours.
Well done.
There's more to pick tomorrow. That's hard work. So they'll be aching up there, won't they, in that part of central Portugal. Thank you very much for that. And yes, Matty put on 7 kilograms. Oh, so what's that? When does it usually rain in Castelo Branco? Good question from Eric asking from abroad. And I think Louise might be able to answer that. That's a bit off your territory, isn't it, Lee?
Well, just a little bit, yeah. A couple of hours away.
Right.
But when you go up the hills there, you can guarantee good rainfall. I think from probably late October.
Yeah.
I think that's when it really turns up that way.
Yeah.
Again, Louise is in that neck of the woods.
And the Portuguese always talk about April being the rainiest month, don't they? April showers in Portugal as well as in UK. On our own horta, picked 4 kilos of tomatoes, tomato massa, 400 grams of French beans, and 2 gala melons this evening. How lovely! What's for dinner? Maybe.
I've ripped out my last tomatoes today.
Yeah.
Just before the show. Yeah, I've ripped them out and turned the bed over. Just before the show.
Okay.
My last tomatoes and my last peppers. Oh, my kids' bikes. Can you see those?
Oh yeah, very nice. So that must
feel peppers and
yeah,
the last few tomatoes.
Amazing. So that's the end of it. I mean, yeah, you get a sense of finality, don't you? At the end of the season there. Some lovely input from lots of people tonight. This is fantastic. My question regarding the olive and fruit trees was about in case I buy a property without any of them, and then for personal use rather than earning money from them. Eric, in March, we've known it to rain heavily for 9 days. Is that 9 days, 24 hours a day in Central? They're not far away from Castelo Branco there. So there you go. There's your rain answer there, Eric. November to February, the rain is intermittent but heavy. There you go. That's the answer to that question, isn't it? Andrea, good evening, Portugal. Good evening to you, Andrea. Fiona, I was told today that I now own the property I was trying to buy. Well, congratulations. No idea.
Well done.
Yeah. No idea how exactly this works, as my solicitor hasn't updated yet. About 80 olive trees full of fruit. Yikes. Guess I need to wait, but we'll try to find a local cooperative to see if there's time to add them for harvesting this year. That's fantastic. Excellent, Fiona. You're living a dream, as many want to do.
Message you later, Fiona.
Yeah.
Message me later when you get a chance, wait.
All right, there you go. And has that echo sorted itself out now, Fiona? You might be listening on 2 browsers, as John was doing earlier on, and he's gone and he's back again now. There he is.
Yeah, we were getting messages from the listeners that there was an echo when I was unmuting. So I thought if I switched off and came back and to see if it would solve the issue. So I don't know if it's better now for people. I just thought because it's at best that's unpleasant, and at worst it could be unprofessional or whatever, and could even be triggering for some people. So I don't know.
Yeah, well said.
I guess, guys, listeners, if you let us know if this is better now, and because I don't really know what else to do, to be honest.
I think we're okay, but people will let us know. Thank God Lee's had a couple of beers to relax. Carl, yes, back in Norfolk. Great time in Portugal. Lined up all the professionals, bank, etc. 16 properties viewed. You get to a point where you can't remember which one was which with that, can you? Continuing inquiries on a couple of properties. So great work by the sound of it, Mark. Fantastic. Hope you are feeling tickety-boo, fella. That's probably for Jason, isn't it? I would have thought. And congratulations to Mark. Sounds like you got a lot sorted out already there. Hi, Eric. Not quite. We have all 4 seasons. Spring warms up in mid-March through to early June. Then temperatures rise sharply for summer. October is the start of autumn, but is usually very short. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and I think it's going to be like that this year. We're going to have a late summer, I think. That's how it's feeling to me. Would you agree, Lee?
We've had a bit of a non-starter this year. It's been on and off. It's been on and off all year. I mean, we've had some hot days.
Yeah.
But we've not had any hot weeks like we've had in the past 7 years of my experience. And I quite like it. I quite like the cooler days. I'm not going to complain about it. But the forecast is for a scorcher this week and really hot next week as well. So just unpredictable.
Yeah,
it's just
we will see.
Completely unpredictable here at the moment.
Yeah, and volcanoes as well in Iberia. Incredible. Eric, that sounds good for homesteading together with rainwater harvesting, I think. Yes, absolutely. Make sure you capture that rainwater. Come back to a few more questions in a moment. To Anna, to the guardian of the questions. Hola, Fresh Air crew. Thank you very much, Simon. Good to see you here. Yeah, the Fresh Air team here, as we are every Monday evening at 6:15. Answering your gardening questions under the leadership of head gardener McGrady. Absolutely, Eric. So that's a great conversation there between Louise and Eric. And thanks for the advice on the fruit trees, Lee, from Simon. That's fixed it, John. All sorted. Well done, mate, says Fiona with the echo. I've still got most of the tomatoes and peppers producing crops daily in the no-dig bed that was started.
I just got sick of mine. I got sick of harvesting them and cleaning them, so I just ripped them out. Right. There was still a lot of green tomatoes on it, but I want the space. I want to start preparing for winter. So yeah, I had the time this evening, so they've gone.
Yeah, but I mean,
I've also today seen my first robin back in the garden.
Oh.
The robins here in Portugal migrate north for the summer.
Yeah,
and I had the first robin returned. I saw the first robin today. She just flew past again for the second time. So, yeah, there you go. Wow. A little boring fact.
No. I mean, but that little creature, if just pondering for a moment that these little fragile little creatures fly miles north for the summer. How far do they go?
Well, I know the ones that have been tagged in England have been found as far as Africa, into the African countries. But I had one particular one here all winter last year, and she disappeared early spring. I presume back to England or to Norway, sort of that way on. But she's back today for the first time. First time I've seen her whilst I was doing the tomatoes. But there was quite a good show on Radio 4 early last week on Radio 4 about the swifts and the swallows in the UK, and they're all starting to leave now, flocking and leaving, and they go right down to South Africa for the spring down there. So as they leave in England in the winter, they're in Africa in the spring, and they are tiny. They weigh nothing. There's no weight in them at all.
But how? It's belief, isn't it? How they swim the channel just at 21 miles across open water, or do they get the?
I know with the swifts and swallows, you have two different flight patterns. They can adjust the wings for long distance flights and short flights. So when they're hunting on the wing in England, they have a certain wing shape. When they're doing long distance flights, they can actually physically alter the wing shape, so they can get more power or less power for a further distance. Fascinating little creatures. Yeah,
isn't it incredible? It really is, because, like you say, they weigh nothing. So being out at sea and being blown around in that on their migratory path is just absolutely fascinating. John, is that for sharing or not?
A kind of related joke that they must enjoy listening to Toto on their iPods on the way, because, of course, the famous Toto song "Africa."
I thought that's what you were thinking. I'm a kind of a bad joke twinning psychic thing going on with you, I think, but I'm glad you said it rather than me. All right, Anna, guardian of the questions. What have we got?
Just working out which one to go with. I think I'll go with this one. I've got about 4 questions I can choose from. What gardening jobs need doing in September? Comes from Kerry, my aunt in Ipplepen.
So that's back in the UK.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to the end of September now. So I never like pruning my hedges during the nesting seasons of the birds, going back to birds. So that's something they can be getting on with now. If they've left the hedges to go for nesting birds, hedges will need doing. Also, this time of year, when the rain starts to come a bit more, it also germinates the weeds, so they need clearing out. Some I'm seeing here as well at the moment. So the weeds are all germinating. They're becoming an issue in the pathways. So clean the pathways, sweeping a bit of dry cement to stop them coming through next year. Oh yeah, gardening tip number 1. When you clear the weeds out from between your flagstones, if you use a dry cement, just put a handful down, you can actually sweep it into the cracks. Overnight, the cement pulls in the moisture from the air and sets in the cracks, just like you'd be pointing a wall, but using a dry mix.
Very good.
Yeah. What else? Oh, preparing the summer crops that are now finished. You can be ripping all them out, preparing it for your winter crops. You might just get away with another deadhead on your geraniums as well. You've got your geraniums, you can be deadheading them. You might just get another flourish of flower before October if you're lucky. And also planning. I always go on about this. Prior preparation. Planning what bulbs you want to plant for the winter and where you're going to put them and making space for them. It's a good time of year now to start transplanting plants in the garden. A lot of things are finishing. A lot of things are starting to turn woody, like the geraniums. So it's nice and easy to transplant them and prepare for your bulbs. Start looking for what bulbs you're going to use and where you're going to get them from. I'm already thinking about bulbs for Portugal, so you should definitely be doing it in England. Yeah, just preparation for the winter and where you want things to come through for the spring. So crocus bulbs, daffodils, tulips. You should already be thinking about now where you want them for the summer and making space for it. For the spring and making space for it now.
Very good. Thank you so much. So there you go. There's your September gardener's diary there. Anna, should we go to another one?
She's still writing all that down from the last one.
That's all right. I've got one other from someone I know, but I shall go to. I'm just trying to work out. I've got one from Mansell and I've got one from Louise. So I'm just trying to work out if I've asked either of those already. Mansell's was ideas for outdoor plants in a shaded north-facing area, or I wasn't sure if it was area or areas, and I'm not sure if that's home or if that's if that's elsewhere. I'm not sure.
One of my big tips I always tell people when they're looking at shaded areas is to look for things with variegated leaf shapes or leaf colours on them. So there's certain asters that do really well in the shade. The names slip from my head. Look for variegated leaf and colours. So right. The leaves that are lighter colour do better in the shade than dark leaf plants. You can get variated geraniums as well. So if you've got a geranium leaf that's really dark in the middle but has a white trim on the outside, it's a good indicator that'll do well in the shade.
Oh.
Well, it collects more light. The lighter the leaf, the more light it can pull in from in dark spaces. Anything that really grows in wooded shaded areas does really well in the shade, and they always have variegated leaf colours. Laurels is another great one. If you go for like a laurel hedge, if you've got something that's really exposed to sunlight, get a dark laurel. If you've got something that's really in the shade, get a variegated laurel. And the colour on the leaf helps to retain more sunlight and do better in the shade. So, and it really adds to it as well, because you've got those dark spots that get no shade. If you put something with multiple colours on the leaf, it gives more colour, more variety to a dark spot. So to answer the question, anything in the shade should be anything with a variegated leaf colour. Will do really well there.
It's a bit like my missus that though, Lee. She's very fair and she can still get the sun in the shade. She can get burnt.
Well,
walking in the
shade. My ex was ginger and she could do the same.
Yeah.
My new girlfriend is very dark. My new fiance is very dark, and she can also get burnt in the shade, to be honest.
Okay, so the theory doesn't necessarily stack up.
Doesn't always work, you know.
Okay, all right, brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Anna. And yeah, talking to Mrs. M, she was asking a question about what we're going to do in the new home we're looking at that has a yard. So it's a weird one because we came to Portugal almost 4 years ago to the day, thinking we're going to get a homestead, we're going to live out in the countryside. End up living at the seaside in a townhouse with a yard. That doesn't mean we're going to stop growing because, you know, we're all about the growing and having fresh fruit and veg from the garden if possible. But it's a flipping paved yard. But I still think we could do some amazing things in there, right?
Don't be put off by it. Don't be because people think this. They think because they've got a yard, they can't grow anything.
Yeah.
The first thing I did when I bought my first house was concrete it and put a drive in. I concreted the lawn and put a drive in. And I still had the best garden on the street because if you get the right containers and you get the right shapes and the right sizes, you can literally grow anything in a container, from an orange tree to onions and carrots, you know, and then everything in between. And I think container gardens really do well with layered plants. So you get small containers with your summer flowers in it. And I have one on the top lawn now, and I've just changed the flowers out on that because my old geraniums are past the best. So I put some in for the winter. So you've got small containers, very affordable here in Portugal, all terracotta. So you start off with the small containers with your seasonal flowers in. Then you go to your mid containers for your fruit and veg, and then you go to your big containers for your trees. And you're not restricted, really. You know, you're only restricted by the size of your yard.
Yeah.
You can grow absolutely anything, and if you stagger it, so small, medium, large containers, you can really fill the space well, and you can hide all the walls, you can hide all the gates and effects, all the things you don't want to see.
Yeah.
They're dead easy to hide. And stuff like jasmine and ivy, they do really well in containers as well, as long as they're getting the water supply that they need. Yeah. And they grow like wildfire here in Portugal. So if you move in somewhere with a bare wall, you start off with a few small jasmines, which smell beautiful. Within 2 or 3 years, it'll add all your wall, and you'll get the smell and the scent, the flowers. I do a small garden in Lisbon city centre, which is literally the size of my top lawn. It's tiny. And they have a lawn, they have a seating area, they have grapevines, they have variegated ivy, going back to the variegated leaf pattern, doing well in the shade. And we've just put in a bougainvillea, and we've just put in a jasmine to go in with the sunny wall. And already it's changed the garden completely. We've got flowers, got colour, got shape. Yeah, don't be put off by having a yard. You can do a lot in it.
Fantastic. So encouraging and good to know. That's for everybody. Get out and grow, even if you've only got a yard. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah. Louise, congrats, Fiona, on the house and the 80 olive trees, I think you said. Matty, the same. Congrats on buying the property. Matty also saw robins last week in central Portugal. I think he was delighted to see them by the sound of it. Time to plant cabbage for Christmas. Natal, says Louise. So cabbage going in. Right, nice one.
Yeah.
The lovely Oriole has been harvesting all of the hazelnuts and walnuts. Is he just swinging the lead inside the field, the hospital, do you think, there, Lee, and letting everyone else do the harvesting? He'll come out when the grapes are ready, he reckons.
I think he's actually due out in the next couple of days, is he not? He said he had another positive test a couple of days ago, but he should be out and about. I think he's just being self. But he's a southerner, you see. He's a southerner. Any excuse not to work. You know what they're like from down south.
I'm hoping to be well enough to harvest the grapes next week, as the wine won't make itself. Well, okay, we'll find out next week, Jason. And don't worry, Lee and Jason know each other well enough to be making that sort of comment. Go on, John.
Obviously, do you want me to do that? Read out that question now?
On. That's come in. That's an interesting one. Yes, please.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. Has this person given a name, or because it doesn't?
I don't really understand the question. It's from a Mr. Kevin Allen.
Okay. Well, hello, Kevin. Welcome to the show, or thanks for listening. And thanks for listening either way. If this is your first time or you're first question or whatever. Thanks for listening, and hope you're enjoying the show. Anyway, so the question is, hi guys, I'm a horticulturalist here in Ireland, but will be moving to Portugal next year. Can you suggest an area that is Sorry, excuse me, I'll start again. Can you suggest an area that is suited to hardening? I'm aware of the temperatures, etc. I grow subtropical and tropical species. I work for a university, so Kevin, is that what you do? Do you do like lecturing in horticultural
Sounds
side of things and that? Is that what you do at the uni? Anyway, I'll just a bit of interaction there, but have decided I want to change. I'm 60 in October, so happy birthday for October, by the way, and want to get on with living. So, Lee, I don't know if you have any advice for that, or if that's something we need to come back to, or...
I'm unsure what he means by hardening. If you could emphasize, if you could get back... Well, the only hardening I can think of that I've come across is when I harden off plants by growing a smaller plant and then bringing it out into the weather to harden it off.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm unsure what he means by hardening, but he is Irish, so we have to give him a bit of leeway on the language.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Okay. Sorry, just another bad joke. But coming from Ireland, where everything's wet and very much like the north of England, where he's going to be really seasonally challenged back home, I think if he looks for somewhere north, he might be more comfortable. But if he wants to find me on Facebook, Lee McGrady, you can direct message me and we can have a conversation together and look at what he actually wants to do, what he wants to develop. Because I do enjoy speaking to horticulturists properly, rather than quick fire questions. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk to him and give him a bit of advice on the little I know about Portugal and the different areas.
Fantastic.
But you'll love it. You'll love it. Come over. Everything grows better. Everything grows greener, but everything takes more water. You'll love it. Come over. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
You always give the same advice, Carl, don't you? To come and have a long extended holiday first, to have a drive around and look at different areas. And I know when I travel out of here, every valley has its own climate. Every garden I do has its own microclimate. So I work different areas, different days. I could be down by the beach on one day where everything's red hot, and then I could be up in Sintra on the next day where everything's a little bit damper, and a little bit greener, a little bit nicer. So, yeah. Tell them if you direct message me, then we'll have a conversation about what you want to grow and what you mean by hardening. I imagine hardening you would already know about, and I can't understand.
And we'll see if we can get Kevin on. Kevin might be great fun to have on a show at some point.
Yeah.
John, understand if you've got to go, mate. Thank you for your input tonight. Fiona, I pulled other Toms out in other places, but we were canning loads for winter. 12 categories.
I think you froze up there, mate. If you can hear me.
Good. We had a little bit of a problem there. Eric, today we harvested our last peanut plant, and I planted some potatoes and maize and some tomatoes. Still amazes me that we can plant things just before winter in Mexico. For your information, it's amazing that the climate there in it. Do you do the Three Sisters technique? I think that's a Mexican thing as well, isn't it? Down Mexico way, as it were. Carl, says Louise, grow high, pots up walls, climbing veg, beans in the yard there, trained toms, cucumbers, melons, squash. Thank you very much, Louise. I will pass that on to Mrs. M, as you suggest. Do some vertical gardening too, Carl, if there's space. Nice, deep, raised beds. Vines or kiwi over the seating area. That sounds lovely as well. Pluck yourself a grape or a kiwi while you sat there enjoying the sun. And Jason, fessing up to the accusations you made earlier on there, Lee. So no harm done. Taken firm on the chin. Jason, I did not know you were hospitalised. I could have helped, as I was not far away from your home. If I had known. How lovely, Matty. Thank you for that. Maybe one more then from you, Anna. I think that might just about do it for today.
I'm just trying to work out if I have asked them all. Actually, I think we're possibly up to date. I was going to say, we've covered the backyard planting, haven't we? I think.
Yeah, definitely. Resulting.
I think that might be all the questions. I was just going to say, just sort of hearing about all the different weather extremes there. I was going to say, and hardy plants and everything. Are there any plants that are I don't know about indestructible, but I was just thinking, are there any plants, either UK or Portugal or wherever people are tuned in? Is there anything that can survive extreme heat or complete downpour or I was going to say thunderstorms, but
there are. There's a lot of plants where you don't need to give them much care. There's a lot of herbs that don't really need to be bothered with, apart from the odd prune here and there. But one of my favourites I keep coming across is one called solitary garlic, and it's a lovely little bulb. It's a very small bulb. It's a very lush green leaf with a very tall stem with a small purple flower on. And I've never really come across them in England in my work life, but I found them here in Portugal, and I'm now putting them everywhere. I'm splitting them and dumping them everywhere because they're just stunning.
Right.
Anyone that wants that bit of green that can do without the water, can tolerate the sunshine, can go in a stone bed that normally attracts the heat and kills everything else. This little solitary garlic plant is just so perfect for it, and it's tiny and fragile, but it seems to go for a long time flowering. And it needs very little care apart from cutting off the dead flower shoots. So yeah, in answer to your question, solitary garlic, perfect. And there's a lot of lilies out here as well. A lot of people are growing lilies, which do really well without the water. Because again, it's a bulbous plant, so it's retaining water during the winter period, and then shooting up to make some stunning lilies. And just at this moment in Portugal, one of my favourite lilies is just coming out now, just popping its head out. In England, we'd call it the naked lily, but they have a strange name for it in Portugal. It's about kids going to school. It comes out this time of year and the kids return to school. But the flower stem comes up first with the flower on, then the leaf comes up after the flower's passing. So anything bulbous, anything like that does really well here. And I'm enjoying the difference between here and England with bulbous plants.
And how lovely, Lee, that after all your years of experience, you move to a different climate and find something like that.
It's been a real joy, actually. A lot of the plants are very similar, are very recognisable to me. I've dealt with them for years and years. But even they behave differently here, like the honeysuckle, the plant that I always enjoyed working with in England. It's got a different flowering time here. It's got a different growth pattern here. And there are some new plants that I don't want to even touch, that I don't like. But then there's these little gems that I find, and I've got a great customer in Australia. That one of the reasons she employed me because she wants an English garden. So we've gone straight in by ordering in osters from France, and it's been my first full year there now, and the garden looks brilliant. It's come on great. We've smashed the slugs, we've smashed the snails, and the osters that we got from France are doing really well because she's got a really shaded garden. So it was like my first choice, And the more I've got excited about it, the more she's researched it, and she's got back to me with other ideas for English gardens. We've got this real great bond going on. But osters do really, really well in the shades, in the shaded gardens. So yeah, it's been a good learning curve for me. It's like I'm starting all over again, having to think about things differently. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, lovely to hear. Lovely to hear. Mexico, yes, Three Sisters technique, and that's with the squash, the maize, and what's the other part of that? So you got the sweet corn, Oh, and the beans grow up. The beans grow up. That's the wheat corn, don't they? And the squash is the lower canopy. But I still look forward, says Eric, to living in Portugal to start a proper homestead. We're looking forward to you coming and sharing some pictures with us, Eric, when you do that. And yeah, do we get to see your portfolio pics, Lee, with these lovely gardens you're talking about? You don't have to answer that right now. Anna Rose.
I'm not going to share pictures of people's private gardens, really. To be honest, it's not. I don't. I would have to ask permission, then that would put customers off.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm not asking for secret pictures.
My little wildflower bed, I counted yesterday, and there's 14 different flowers in it. So I'll be happy to share a little shot of that.
Oh,
I mean, we'll walk down that one, have a quick look, but I'll take a few pictures next couple of days and send. Well, this was a really cheap wildflower seed mix from the supermarket. And it's coming to the end now. But
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm 6'2", and they're at my head height.
Fantastic.
But yeah, we've had 14 different types of flowers. This bed I've stripped out once already. This shot up early spring. I've stripped it out and it's got new flowers coming through again.
Yeah.
But my sunflowers got to about 11 foot. It's been great, and that was a dead cheap seed mix from the supermarket.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I can take some around the garden and show you, but obviously customers' gardens, it's not something I'm going to do without permission.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. We've got a few more coming in to answer your question. And roses do surprisingly well in Portugal, says Louise. Ground cherry, a good ground cover. It's a type of tomatillo and grows in a beautiful papery golden lantern, sweet and tasty. Now, are those the Chinese?
I was doing a land clearance for a customer that lives not far from the golf course that just down the road here. That was the first time I come across it end of last year. I'm addicted to them. They're amazing.
Yes.
They're a really weak-looking, tender plant, but they produce so much fruit, and they are so tasty.
Yeah.
And I think
they grow like you chuck them on a compost heap, and they keep going.
They grow like wildfire. Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah. And
I think between us, we can't think of the common name for them. So there's citrusy, and you can get a sense of it being related to the tomato, but it's a bit citrusy and it can be very sweet. And it's a Chinese gooseberry. What's the other name? Physalis, isn't it?
That's the one. Yeah.
Physalis, absolutely. So great ground cover. Yeah, agreed, says Eric to Simon. We grow them as a cover crop and the fruits as well. They're delicious. Probably high in vitamin C, I would say. I love ground cherries. Didn't know they were called that. Glad to hear they grow well here. Absolutely, Cindy B. Good evening to you. Cranberries too, Eric, as well. That's interesting. For sure, we will share pics from our homestead in the future. I love this community. We love you too, Eric. Wonderful garden, Lee. Loving your shots of your own garden there, Lee. And ground cherry, a.k.a. Physalis. There you go. Louise solving that mystery for us. What a fantastic session tonight. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. Well done, Anna. Cheers, Lee. And good night from me in beautiful Kashgar. And we'll see you again next week. Just to finish with this little fella, John was talking about, what was he talking about before? He was talking about the alpaca. No, alpacas. He's not a llama farmer. He's an alpaca tracker. This little beauty was born in Portugal, up in Aveiro, and was born in the last few days. My friend Lisa has an alpaca farm up there, the Monte Frio alpaca farm, as you can see there from the name of this site. And this little creature, this delight, was born, I think, very recently. So look at that. Welcome to the world,
What's
little
the meat taste like on them? What does it taste like?
Like chicken, obviously, Lee. Great show, guys. What a controversial note to end on. Have a great evening, and we will see you soon. Lee's off to Aldi to see if he can get himself an alpaca steak. Dear, oh dear. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.